It's Billy. Right now. Yo, what if I got attacked by the clones? What if the builder think they found a better stone? What if the beat don't match with the metronome? What if that means you walk your path alone? Call me a vagabond. If all these streets leading to Rome, then wherever I lay is my home. It's Brooklyn, boy strong. I manifest, I'm in the zone. Y'all silly better back up off my throne. Listen, boy nice, better give him his propers. How we come out sane from all the mosh pits. How we found the key to the game without a locksmith. How we seem to manage these lanes is so obnoxious. He let it flow from the brain, trust in the process. A vet journeyman on multiple rosters. If I want it, I go out and get it and cop it. A monster with limitless options. Man, like goddamn, y'all gon' soon figure out who I am. We stay cooking, y'all used to that spam. Western beef, I might square up at the square dance. Look, I change plans, not even a southpaw, I'm an outlaw with a rare stance. Your crew never had a fair chance.
Why's that?
I kill a whole bear with my bare hands. Oh, they studied the dark? Well, I was raised in it. Brain shifted, the kid displayed insane physics. Best story never told, and it ain't finished. How we handled the rock, spun and kept the same pivot. I frame different, hot like a flame kitchen. A whole 2 levels out of your range gifted. Catch me on the highway, lane switching. Or right at the top of your bay wish list. It's Billy. Right now.
What up? What up?
It's
How you
Billy.
doing? How you doing? Welcome, welcome. It is May 1st, 2023, and this is another wonderful episode of How Billy Sees It. It's going to be a good one. We got a good old friend of the show and a really talented dude, an artist, activist, writer, someone I respect very much. And I'm excited to get into this conversation and pick his brain about his most recent creative work, this book, Nineveh, and about him in general. And it's going to be a great show. So let me turn that over to my guy and introduce you to Kymone, Freeman. Hold on.
House.
What? Say that again, bro?
I said my pandemic baby's in the house.
There we go. This is the pandemic baby right here.
There it is.
There it is. How long did it take you to get this thing
The
together?
genesis of the idea was sparked when I spent the summer in Nairobi, Kenya. Was introduced to the water crisis, summer '04. So that's when I was introduced to the concept of water as a crisis. But I didn't write a screenplay about it until '07. And I did a stage reading. It was well received. Never went anywhere, but forced me because it was a audience and the actors that was involved. A lot of people would say to me whenever a water crisis arose, "What's up with that project? What's up with that project?" for years, and I never picked up on it
Right.
until the pandemic. And the pandemic hit, and my man was like, "Why don't you write the book?" And I like, this is the time to write the book. So it took me about 18 months to really turn a basic screenplay into a literary piece of art with a movie.
And that's what it is, bro. I want to thank you for writing it and kind of congratulate you on it too, because
Thank you.
as I read through it, there's so many things in here that I want to come at. But the first question I want to come at is really to talk about it in terms of as a literary work. It feels like it was, you're a playwright. You have that in your wheelhouse. It feels like a playwright bringing that sort of that creative, descriptive energy and poetry to a work of novel fiction. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff in there, and I want to talk about, like, throughout the book. I noticed even the conversations between the characters, like you can see that you had to think deeply about the way those people would talk. Like, that whole civilization is stuck in a difficult place where everything surrounds water and its scarcity. And so the way they speak to each other, the phrases, the catchphrases, and the, like, little things they say, like, relate to. I have some stuff written down. Let me see if I have it here. but it was just like, I was like, yo, you can see the thought that this character and these people talk about water in this way. So tell me about building that world like that.
Yeah, it took a lot of research to know what I'm talking about. In terms of like survival of the fittest in that situation. What would you do if you're starving? And the last poets have a line that says, "Speak not a revolution if you're not willing to eat rats to survive." Right? And I always thought about that. Like, I'm not willing to eat rats.
Yikes.
So
That's pretty
how are we gonna
deadly.
keep this going? I'm sorry, brother. I'm plugging in my power adapter while I'm talking.
Got it.
And so
What the?
I say, look, well, I'm not willing to eat rats. So what would be the alternative? Then I found out that snakehead fish, sunflower fish, these things can lay like tens of thousands of eggs. And fish actually eat rats. So I'm like, yeah, I would feed rats to the fish
Right.
and eat the fish. I would do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, what would I do in that situation? But my superpower is because I started as a playwright, I had the benefit of hearing my work read back from professional actors. So I was able to capture voices in my head a little bit more accurately than some people would. And so that matched with the research is what created magic.
Yeah, it did, and you mentioned the snakefish, and those choices, or even the cats versus dogs, because cats are a bit more tidy with water. The way you capture this civilization, this group of people, from the hallowed like stadiums where the rich people live down to the street, like the way they deal with water, and each of them deal with it differently. While some people are cherishing it, walking down the street, you can get robbed while holding some water, and in other
Mm.
places, they're bathing and tossing it around, and I just thought that detail was really impeccably done. But
Yeah.
not only is it a work of fiction, but you often get asked this. Can you tell us a bit about how you're towing right between real life stuff, because water crises are a part of our real
Yeah,
life.
it's Afrofuturism. I always keep quoting Octavia Butler. She said, "Is it fictitious for Black people to imagine themselves in the future?" And for the past 500 years, Black people's imaginations has been stunted by the institution of white supremacy. We've basically been in survival mode. Then we started getting into more resistance, and then we started getting into replicating white people as if they was the standard bearers. And I think that one of the things that I've only heard Kojo Nnamdi, when he interviewed me, say this. It's the only person I know that picked up on it, that I don't directly address race in the book. The word nigga never appears in my book, and I'm gonna challenge myself so that nigga never appears in my work, because I want to imagine what would we be like if we never encountered Europeans and that whole Maafa and the Holocaust and the American apartheid system. What will we be? One of the great analogies is in my community garden one summer with the DC Maryland Summer Youth Employment Program. We were growing watermelon, and we had cinder blocks creating the garden box. And cinder blocks got two holes in each side.
Sure.
And so this particular watermelon was growing inside one of the holes of the cinder block. So obviously it didn't grow properly. It grew around and inside that hole. And so when we saw it, I showed it to my interns. Like, you see how the environment stunted the growth of this watermelon and deformed it. It's not its whole natural self, because of the constraints it found itself in this environment.
Right.
And that's what Black people are. We are a product of this environment of white supremacy. So I wanted to imagine a world where we didn't have that. It's just basically the have-nots and the haves. You either got water or you don't. You either thirsty or you ain't. And that's a basic analysis. And the reality is that, at the end of the day, when a crisis really occurs, when the shit really hits the fan, race doesn't matter. And we need to realize that, because money don't even matter when shit hit the fan.
Yeah. See, when shit hits the fan, you come down to what's real. You come
Mm.
down to what's so like for real. Like when I think about it, I think about like the explosion of NFTs and stuff, and all these different markets that
Yeah,
pop up. And
Clarence Thomas is an NFT.
Clarence, oh man, yo, Roy Wood killed that. By the
He
way, I
killed
was
it.
laughing.
He killed it.
But
I
see
mean,
how
he wasn't Michelle Wolf killing it, but he did a stand-up job.
I
Yeah,
remember Michelle. She did a good job too. I remember
yeah.
that. That was a
She's a
good thing.
standard bearer now.
but But yeah, when things hit the fan, other things that people make a big deal out of, other markets and other things that are constructed loses their value, obviously, because we're dealing with raw thing, and it doesn't get much rawer than water, right? Because
Right.
if you wanna put someone in a state of shock and limit their life, expectancy, you limit their water. That's the quickest way to get them. They're no longer functioning the same way. It's not just life. It's like it lubricates us. It keeps us grounded and emotionally sound, right? Like water's everything.
Henry Kissinger said famously that whoever controls the food controls the world, and you can say that whoever controls the water controls the world because food is predicated on availability of water. You can't have one without the other. And you look at apartheid Israel; they control all of Palestine's water. Um, I urge your listeners to go check out Barack Obama's speech in Flint, Michigan. If you go back and watch that speech, we did a mixtape. So if you want to go to We Act Radio YouTube channel, you can see the mixtape we did for
I
it.
saw you put some music on
So
that.
we save you some trouble. But he coughed throughout that speech. You never seen Barack Obama cough during a speech in his entire 8-year career in the White House. But when he gets to Flint, he coughs. I think he coughs like 18 times. And then he asked for a glass of water. You never heard him ask for a glass of water before in his 8 years, but he does in Flint. This is called political theater. And so Kamala Harris just said a few months ago that the next war would be over water. She said at a press conference, and nobody asked anything. They just kept going like, it says it's the most valuable commodity. Why is it a commodity? It should be a human right if you acknowledging that it's going to be a conflict resource. A lot of people are going to suffer and die unnecessarily, but that's what capitalism does. It's disaster capitalism. So, like, I feel like I'm like, Paul Revere, what I'm saying? The British coming, because the water is surged. And no one's listening to me, but the 500 people that got the book so far, they're listening. And this is destined to become a major motion picture. And we're going to push it as far as we can because we realize that, as Alice Walker says, the greatest power is convincing people don't have any. I think this book is a celebration of resistance. It's not a woe is me story. It's a victory story. It's painful. It's a cautionary tale, but I think it's inspiring. I think that having a woman as the lead protagonist is a revolutionary. I think that if you look at the family structure of the protagonist and the antagonist, they're really balanced. They both are patriarchal families, but they lost the maternal connection in their family, and because of that, they have problems because they don't have that matriarch. And I always want to put that out there. Says is because if we actually going to battle and dismantle the institutional white supremacy, which is also patriarchy in place, you see that from the church to the White House to whatever. The fact is that we should embrace a matriarch society, and we do it in our conversations. Mother Earth,
Yeah.
Mother Land, Mother Nature. My personal favorite, motherfucker. Because when we was young, you could say what you want about somebody's father, and they might even agree with you. Your father ain't shit. Yeah, he ain't shit. Say something about their mother.
Yeah, right.
Say something about their mother.
Right.
I don't care what their relationship is with their mother. Say something about their mother. It's on and popping.
Yeah.
So we're embracing that matriarch society. And Evelyn, my lead protagonist, as a woman, as a motherless child, she has the biggest character arc, I think, in the story. but also her counterpart, our protagonist, Cecile, has a big character arc in his as well. But I think Evelyn has the greatest because she was about to kill a lot of people, but she was able to see past her own hatred. And I think that's what this system is really afraid of. That what will happen if black people and the oppressed people and the colonized people all around the world that they have been oppressed for so long were to rise and be on equal footing. What would they do to us? What we did to them? I think that's a thought in the back of their mind that justifies their continued barbarity and cruelty. And we need to understand that the current system is not sustainable. Some of this might be above the heads of your listeners because they're not familiar with the book. So hopefully go check it out, ninevehnovel.com, Ninevh novel.com. Um, I should share with you one of the book reviews that really summarizes why somebody would read this. But water is the next conflict resource. You don't have to look any further than Flint, Michigan. Jackson water crisis. Water has been weaponized here in America. I don't have to go around the country, go around the world about the 25,000 people that die every day in Asia, Africa, Latin America because they don't have access to clean water. You can see it right here. Even in Washington D.C., we had D.C. Water who was saying that it was going to take them 100 years to replace all the lead pipes in Washington D.C. I'm like, it didn't take you 100 years to install all the lead pipes in Washington D.C. So why would it take 100 years to replace it? I'm just using my common sense here. And at the same time, they was building these aqueducts. If you drive around D.C., you see streets torn up. That's D.C. Water building aqueducts that's going to accommodate stormwater drainage runoff, if you will, when it rains hard. Raw sewage goes into the river. That's why it's brown and dirty. So these aqueducts will accommodate that, prevent it from getting into the river. And when they turn the pumps on, it's going to clean the river by 90% overnight. So those people can go swimming, and kayaking on the river, you know. And that's fine and dandy. Clean the river. I save the environment. I'm all here for that. But how you going to sit here and say at the same time the juxtaposition of cleaning the river, but it's going to take 100 years to replace all the lead pipes because those people are still being exposed to lead in their water. And there's no such thing as an acceptable level of lead. It's only acceptable for those people. You feel me?
Yeah.
So we had radio on my platform, made a big thing about that. A couple of tweets went viral. George Hawkins, the then general manager of DC Water, came into our studio to defend himself. He's out. The new guy's in. And the new guy says that they're going to have the lead pipes replaced by 2030. So that's less than 10 years. So how you go from 100 years to less than 10 years unless it was a revolution of values?
Absolutely.
And I think we had something to do with that. And on May 18th, we are hosting an environmental justice forum with DC Water. I urge some of your listeners to come check that out. They can get more information on We Act Radio's Facebook page or Twitter or IG. So We Act Radio's social media is IG, Facebook, and Twitter. All the information for our May 18th Environmental Justice Forum. And that'll be the next book event for ninevehnovel.com.
I love it, man. Listen, I want to talk about We Act too and your progression and everything you've done, from when I first met you and how your artistry has evolved and all that. But while we're still on the book, I want to say too that, just to jump on what you're saying, the book strikes me as it's very human. We're talking about.
Wow, that's good.
It's a human thing. Sometimes when you talked about the media just now, you said Kamala Harris says what she says and everybody just moves on, whatever. I can speak firsthand about how the media is not an institution that is constructed to care about humans. It's got its own interests and its own values, and they want to pick the things they want to pick and they want to keep it moving. But your book is about humanness, and I just feel like you're trying to grapple, and you've always been this way. You've been grappling with human problems, like on the ground. What do humans need? So tell me about your journey, man. Because when I first met you, you weren't talking much about water. You were a playwright, and you were also you talk about police violence, race, and racism. You talk about, man, I've always seen you as talking about manhood and stuff like that. But how did you evolve into the water discussion from when I first met you 15 years ago?
Well, I was as I said, I experienced it, being told not to drink the water, not to allow them to put ice in my drinks, bathe with my mouth
Right.
closed, and all of that. In the summer, I spent in Nairobi for the
Right.
leadership conference sponsored by American Friends Service Committee. And then when I came back to the States and I saw how people would carelessly discard it and throw it away, it always it always shocked me. So it was something that was always in my mind. And then when '07, because my first artistic creation was prison poetry,
That's
and
right.
fortunately, I won a literary award for that, which gave me the validation that I unfortunately needed to say that I can do this, to say that I am an artist, I am a writer,
Why do you say
uh,
unfortunately? Why do you say unfortunately?
because we shouldn't have to wait for validation. You should be able to validate yourself. You should have confidence in your own self. Don't wait for approval. Can you imagine Black Panther Party trying to get a grant to fight the decadent American system?
Right.
Where we didn't get the grant, I guess we can't do it. Come on, man. Harriet Tubman didn't get a shoe endorsement deal to do what she did.
Right.
She
Don't
didn't
you
wait
feel
for
like
approval.
don't you feel like that's a big part of where things have gone away a little bit, gone awry? Is this
Yeah,
like this? There's a feel, or we've moved towards a sense that we need to be certified. We need to get
yeah.
validation and certification to
it's
do X, Y,
it's
and
it's
Z.
a level of inferiority we have to Martin Luther King talked about this. He talked about having our own emancipation proclamation. We have to declare our own selves free. And shout out to you for doing such a wonderful job in putting together that MLK short documentary justifying the commercialization of King's legacy being co-opted by the mainstream society. I play that often, almost every day on React Radio. It comes out. So you just did a timeless job, great job on that.
Thank you,
And
bro.
I look forward to working with you in the future to get your visual effects on some of my work. But yeah, I want everyone in the sound of our voice. If you don't get nothing else in this interview, I don't care if you don't even get the book. Go steal it for all I care. But I want people to realize that everyone, by the sheer stick of the humanity, has at least one story the whole world could benefit from. But it's oftentimes the one story they don't want to talk about, the one story they don't want to know about, and that's the juice. Now, your talent is measured on how many more stories you can come up with. So I've been, you know, talented enough to come up with several stories, and they're all different. I did prison poetry, three men from three different generations in a holding cell one night. I had a plug from Sam Greenlee. The spook who sat by the door was my teacher. I spoke at his funeral. I read a poem for the last poets at his funeral. He co-signed my work, my first piece.
Yeah.
That was a blessing. And then I go on, do a couple other productions, including Nineveh. But those were just stage readings. I never got it up and running. I did a play called uh, God is on the Devil's Payroll. It was about Haiti and the crisis in Haiti during an earthquake. I did the night Michael Jackson died. Where were you the night Michael Jackson died? That was a musical. It was like five actors and a DJ. It was the first theatrical performance held at Hamilton Live in Washington D.C. We did.
Kymone's done
We did.
everything, y'all. If you
Yeah, we
don't
did.
know,
We did SOBs in New York.
yeah, man, this dude
You
been
know,
at it, man.
and Prison Poetry sold out Lincoln Theater.
Yeah, yeah.
And I sold 2,000 DVDs, which put me in Miami the night Michael Jackson died, which is hence how that came about. So none of my work is the same. I've been able to target so many different subjects.
Yes.
In Prison Poetry, obviously, we're talking about incarceration and that. George Jackson was a mainstay in that story. Haiti, and the corruption in Haiti and the Americans' accountability in that was in the next one. Nineveh obviously is about water and the disparity of wealth. The night Michael Jackson died was really about Cuba and U.S. Relations. And then now we're about to make this film. You know, we're on a crusade to make this film. So I'm trying to do a 13-city tour. We have a silent mixtape book party that we're doing. We're gonna create a mixtape for the book. Working with DJ Underdog on that. And so when people come to the book party, you have the headphones. You can tune into the mixtape and the DJ in the bar and do that thing, or you can flip the channel, listen to the audiobook being read, or you can take the headphones off and actually tap into the actual event that's taking place, where we combine the music, literature, and art. So people will pay to come out for that. And we're gonna do 13 cities plus Flint, Michigan, and Jackson, Mississippi. So you know, and we're about to do a Spanish translation of the book, and that's going to be released in Havana, Cuba. You know,
congrats on all that, man. That's dope.
Yeah.
Did you even mention Black Love Fest and all that? You
after
all that, you didn't even mention Black Love Fest.
Man, you're going all the way back now. Black Love Fest was 25 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had our 25th anniversary last summer. It was the biggest event in the Fort DuPont Summer Series. We had oh wow. We had so many artists. We had, man, who was tough? We had Moo Fresh, who just won a Whammy.
Yeah.
If y'all know about Moo Fresh, I need to look her up. She's performed with all your favorite MCs. Love Moo Fresh. Okay, all your favorite top MCs love Moo Fresh. We had. Who else we had? You know, of course, we had EU.
Oh, I know.
Sugar Bear was gonna acknowledge.
I know Moo Fresh, bro, but I know her. I know her name is Maimuna. You know, I didn't know her name.
Maimuna Youssef.
Yeah.
Maimuna Youssef. We had Yazara. Yazara, for those who don't know, she's been on tour with Lenny Kravitz. So if you've been to a Lenny Kravitz show, you've seen Yazara on stage because she sings background for Lenny Kravitz. So she was tearing it up. We had so many big artists, and we honored our elders, man. We honored Kojo Nnamdi. We honored Reverend Grayling Hagler. We honor Sri Gyana and Hala Garima Sankofa, one of my teachers. I took a writing workshop under Hala Garima. And also Yuziki Nelson and his wife, Janua, Mama Janua. And, you know, we gave them their flowers, man. So it was 10,000 people out there in the park. And hopefully we're going to be able to bring it back. I don't know if we're going to be able to bring it back this year because they don't like giving Black Love Festival too much money 2 years in a row. But we'll see what happens.
Well, you know, like that's just points to how long you've been doing it. And you know, thanks again. But tell me a phrase when I see you on Facebook and another thing, you always leave with like do something, hashtag do something.
Yeah.
And obviously you live by it. We just ran through an extensive resume and we skipped a lot, you know.
Extensive resume.
What does do something mean to you? Because I had this conversation with a prior guest about how important it is for us to do something and to see Black people doing something, to see Black men doing something. What does it mean to you?
October 16th, 1995 was the Million Man March. It was a revolutionary day. Me and my friends came out there, my hooligan friend. And so, you know, we was smoking and drinking. We was smoking weed right in front of the police because we knew that they wasn't going to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? So we was daring the police to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it was, and they knew it was going to be on and popping if they touched any of us. You know what I'm saying? On that day, we felt our power. So we was out there smoking and drinking, talking shit to the police. And a brother comes up to us, an elder, he comes up to us and he says, brothers, we're not niggas today. Just for the day. We're not niggas. And that hit me like bricks because the thought had never crossed my mind. Like, I'm not a nigga? You know? And like, I have a choice. You know? I just assumed I was a nigga, you know, without question, you know what I'm saying? So and so after that moment, we put the weed away, we put the drinks away, and we all got into the theme of the event and started paying attention to what was going on. Hugged more men. That one day I hugged in my entire life before or since. You know, I'm talking about you couldn't walk 6 feet without hugging somebody, bro. It was therapeutic. Seriously. I'm talking about the original. I ain't talking about the carbon copies. I'm talking about the original.
Okay.
You know, no one was killed. There was no one shot for a couple of days of that. This was when DC was the murder capital. They don't talk about that. You know, no one went to jail for a couple of days. Like everything stopped. All white people left the city. You know, it's crazy, man. But at the end of the day, Brother Minister challenged all of us to go back to our communities and do something. And I had to walk around, but like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And the answer came to me when I witnessed. I was a witness to homicide. My cousin was stabbed to death. I didn't witness the stabbing. I witnessed him bleeding to death in my arms. You know, like the movies, turning a white silk shirt pink. You know, and I had an out of body experience, as you can imagine. And you know, the party was over for me. It was
Do something.
it wasn't cool. It wasn't fun anymore. And so I went to Jamaica. The first time I got on a plane, the first time out of the country, I went to Jamaica, and I was cliff diving at Ritz Cafe in the grill. And I guess facing my fears, jumping off that cliff, putting my life into my own hands, jumping off a 100-foot cliff, doing some flips. You know,
You did a
I
flip,
said,
Kymone?
yeah, I was only trying to flip one time, bro. But I did not factor in the inertia of falling 100 feet.
Right.
You flip one time,
You gonna flip 2 or
it's
3.
hard to stop.
Yeah.
So I kept flipping. I flipped like 2 or 3 times. I'm on people home videos and shit. And
you belly flopped, didn't you?
oh, nah. I hit the water perfectly straight, sir, like a fish. Because you better fly from 100 feet. You
in trouble. Yeah.
That's major damage, bro.
Okay,
You
so
know,
you flip, you couldn't figure it out, and then you did like a perfect joint and just got the all tens. That's what you're telling me?
But here's the problem. I opened my eyes to see where my body was. And so when I saw how my body was, I straightened out and hit it like Superman, pshoon, at the last minute. But I didn't blink. I hit the water with my eyes wide open. I bruised my retinas. I had to get laser eye surgery. Wow. That's why I wear these big ass glasses. You know. So I came back with new vision, and I seen the world differently. And that's when I said, I'm doing a Black Love Festival. It just came to me like that. I'm doing a Black Love Festival. This is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to be. And I've been walking more confidently since then, you know. And I urge everybody to get you some confidence by facing your fears. Whatever you're scared of, do that shit.
Do that shit. Listen, you talked about we're gonna talk about a couple of things in there. But you talked about being a nigga, or the identity of being a nigga versus
the artist formerly known as nigga.
The artist formerly known as nigga. But this strikes me as a conversation about identity. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like I've gone through a journey and part of my journey has been trying to share the fact that there is a journey, right? Because what you're describing is when you're younger, you were saying you fucking around with your hood friends. You didn't know that there's something more to life than whatever the hell y'all was doing.
I was only responding to my environment.
Exactly. So what is it about? Because, you know, I've been playing with like the idea that these labels, you know, when you identify as something, let's say you identify as a nigga and you receive that title and that label, you start to play into it, right? In a way. So I want to talk about that. I want to hear your thoughts on that, because it seems like at some point you started to play into something different. You saw value in performing a different version of who you were, and how that happens.
Well, you know, like I said, the festival started as a platform for artists. I still wasn't considering myself an artist at that time. I mean, I was doing poetry and open mics like everybody else when I sing. But I don't think that was my superpower. It was like the beginning of my workshop on my soul. But I created a platform for all of my artist friends. I didn't recognize myself as an impactful artist until, again, coming back from summer in Nairobi. That's when I became a writer because I realized a pen is a poor man's weapon. And there's a space called the Nile House in Nairobi where they took people that spoke out against the government and they tortured them. And so now they do tours. And so I was left alone in one of the cells where they tortured one of these guys, a couple of these guys actually. And I just stayed in the cell during the whole tour. I said, just leave me in here, close the door, and come back and get me. So I was in the cell for like a half an hour, and I light my lighter, and I could read some of the words that these dying men wrote on the wall. And I'm like, oh, if you write it down, your words could be here when you're gone. Oh, like it really hit me. Like that's the most powerful thing you can do is tell your story. So a lot of those words showed up in prison poetry, But in terms of like the identity thing, when I got fired from the post office, I took my last check from the post office and I went to Atlanta. And I wasn't there to party. I was there to meet Kathy Hughes. She was doing, a friend of mine was doing this series of luncheon events honoring different people, right? And one day was Kathy Hughes, and the next day was Robbie Reed. Robbie Reed is the casting director for a lot of Spike Lee's films or whatever. So I didn't have any ambition for film at that time. I was just hanging out, free food and drinks and, blah, 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 because I'm here to get to Kathy Hughes because I wanted the radio play for the Black Love Festival. But I talked to Robbie Reed, and he says, so I introduced myself, blah, 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 and she asked me a real question I had never heard before. She says, so who are you? And I had never been, I'm 20, but 28, 20, no. I got fired from the post office. I'm like 31, 32, actually. I'm 32.
Okay.
And she says, who are you?
Right.
And I tell this woman with a straight face, I got a t-shirt tied around my head. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I said, I'm a sophisticated thug.
That's what you said?
That's what I tell her. I'm a sophisticated thug. And you could see how disappointed she is in her eyes. And she said to me, is that all you are? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm sophisticated. So I'm thinking that's a defense. And I wish I could have that conversation over again. So like Miss Robbie Reed, to see how I developed and what I have now, I wish I could have an audience with Robbie Reed. In fact, as a result of this conversation, because of you, I'm going to start a campaign to track Robbie Reed down so I can tell her the story and see if she has any interest in the work that I have. And she probably won't remember the conversation, but she'll remember the event because she got an award.
Right.
So she'll remember the event. So, but Robbie Reed was the first person that challenged me to look myself in the mirror and say, who am I?
Who am I?
And let me tell you this as well. So I was working for Ralph Nader, and when I came back from Nairobi, I was there for 3 months. I come back, and now I'm living in New York, and I was like driving this campaign vehicle when Ralph Nader was running for president in 2004. And I was in my hotel room, which was really like an extended stay. So I had like, the kitchen, it was like an apartment. So I'm in my room and I'm getting dressed, I'm putting my pants on, and I trip up with, with one foot in the pants leg, and I fall over. And when I fell over, I just landed on the floor and I just started laughing. I'm laughing at myself. And then all of a sudden, I start crying uncontrollably. Like, I don't know where it came from, but I just started crying. And I shut down. Like, I couldn't answer the phone. I couldn't respond to no emails. I did not leave my apartment for like 3 days. And I just stayed in there like a cocoon. I didn't want to get out of bed, and I was like, what's wrong with me? I don't know what's wrong with me. And then in hindsight, what that was my midlife crisis. That was my my mind was rebooting. Like you restart a computer, I had to shut down and reinvent myself because I'm no longer the sophisticated thug, that disgruntled postal worker. I'm not that. I'm going to be this artist. I'm going to be a spokesperson for my people. I'm going to be a storyteller. I'm going to be, I'm going to be that. I'm going to be whatever I want to be. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I am. Like,
I love that,
because it
man.
was still echoing like, who am I? And
Yeah.
I had to define for myself who I am. And that is when it started. That's when it started. I wish I knew the exact date it was, but it was somewhere around September, October of '04. I had a nervous breakdown, and I want people to when I say I'm an angry black man in therapy, that's what I mean. And I think people need to be okay with not being okay. It's okay not to be okay. Just acknowledge it. Don't pretend. Find your support group. And if you got to shut down and stay in your house or go somewhere by yourself, then that's what you got to do. You need a moment. You need a moment. And that was my moment. And I think back on that quite often, because if somebody was around me at that time, they might have thought I was crazy, losing my mind. And it would really been interference because I couldn't explain to them what was going on because I didn't know.
Yeah,
you know. But I think all of that combined is the juju that got me going.
I love that. Thanks for going. I actually have written down here, I wanted to talk briefly about mental health. So let me just jump, since we're there, about mental health.
Very important.
Yeah, man. Like your ability to articulate that, to say that you had I think you used the word breakdown and that you cried. Yeah. I grew up around a lot of men that wouldn't
cry.
That wouldn't tell you they cried. You know what I'm saying? Like it was seen as a feminine thing and part of the masculinity performance again.
Masculinity performance. I like that.
Masculinity performance includes this sense that you've got it all together and that you're tough and that, yeah, things are bad, but you got it and you don't need help. And that weighs on people, and it weighs on people differently. And
like an albatross around your neck.
It's an albatross. And I love the idea of being free from that by saying, I don't have to do that. I don't have to play that performance. That is a made up construction that was put on us from, you go further back from our uncles and our parents and the historical ramifications. That's from, white European male culture, patriarchy again. So shout to you for talking about the dark side of things in your growth, and the sadness of it. You've witnessed your cousin get killed. How many of us see stuff like that and we just kind of pretend, we act like everything's cool,
Yeah. We become desensitized, and that's what the system wants you to do. It wants you to not be concerned about others, to create a callousness to life, so that you can, be a better soldier, a better worker, a better cog in a wheel. So you're not concerned about anyone to the left or the right. We can see a 10-year-old kid at 10 o'clock at night pumping gas and not feel anything about it or concern about this child. Like, why are you out here by yourself? Because he's asking for change right now to pump your gas at 10. When he's 16, he's going to ask you again with a gun in his hand and tell you to get out the car. You want to know how a killer is made? That's how you create them. They're children that's been left to fend for themselves. I got in a big argument this morning at a meeting with a bunch of elders. I was not trying to be disrespectful, but I had to let them know, because they was talking about this. Chief Conti, is leaving. Is the chief of police in Washington D.C. Is leaving MPD to go work for the FBI, and they was like, "Oh, congratulations on him," and blah blah. I'm like, man, F the FBI. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get the bag. You know what I'm saying? Oh no, he's going to be able to be a more effective and have more power than the FBI. I'm like, he ain't a spook who step out the door. You know, what are you going to do in the FBI other than what they tell him to do? You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah,
he was in charge
right.
of the Metropolitan Police Department. You know, theoretically, nobody was telling him what to do there, so the buck stopped with him theoretically.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
but
right,
he
right.
goes to FBI, he ain't going to be the director.
Yeah,
So what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, ask Martin Luther King what he thought about the FBI.
right.
Ask Angela Davis what he thought about the FBI. You know what I'm saying? You know, and they couldn't believe that I would have such a uh, opposing view to positions of authority. Because
You've
our
always
older
been that.
people,
They didn't know that about you. They didn't know you were like pretty honest and
well, yeah, they know
straightforward.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
that's
know
true.
now. But yeah, I think that we are hesitant to say who unequivocally who our friends are and who our enemies are. And I think this book, I name a lot of the enemies in it. One of my creative consultant, she wanted me to take. You sure you want to put the IMF in here? You sure you want to mention the World Bank in here? You sure you want to mention George Bush in here? Because you got a lot of smoke. I'm like, I'm here for it. Like, I'm here to tell the story. And so, see, we are conditioned to censor ourselves.
Yes.
You know, I was in the what's that? The Sundance Film Festival in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And shout out to what is it, Macro Entertainment production company.
Yeah.
I look forward to working with them at some point. But I was going to their event party. They wouldn't let my black ass in there, right? I got a media pass from the Sundance Film Festival. Not my just my little WEAC radio shit. I
Yeah.
have press credentials from the event. They not letting me in. And this
Why
supposed to be
not?
the black event. You know what I'm saying? But I see white people with, their right checks, they going in. So I had a problem with that, right? So I'm all mad. I mean, me and my little crew, we couldn't get in. So we start walking away, right? And so when we start walking away, who comes out the side door? At that very moment, I literally bump into, um, oh man, what's my girl name? Um, Queen is Slim, the writer.
Oh, not the actress. I don't know who the
No,
writer
no,
is.
she's the writer. She's
Okay.
my girl. Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on her name. It's a senior moment. I
Or
can't think of her name right now.
what? Is it
Lanai Wait,
Lena
Lena
Waithe?
Wait,
Okay, Lena Waithe. Okay.
Lanai Wait. I think
Cool.
it's yeah. So yeah, Lena
It
Wait.
looks like
I think
Lena
it's
Waithe
Lena Wait.
there. Okay.
Lena Wait.
Yeah.
Lena Wait comes out, and I'm like, yo, Lena, what's up? And she got her whole crew. Now, mind you, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's snowing. It's freezing, and she stopped to talk to me. You know what I'm saying?
That's
She
what's
said,
up.
yo, hold, what's up, bro? I was like, yeah, I'm a writer too. You got any advice for me? She says, don't censor yourself. That's somebody else's job. That's what Lena Waithe says to me. Her name is Lena Waithe, Lena Waithe. That's it, just coming clear to me now. Lena Waithe said to me 2 o'clock in the morning in the snow
Yeah.
in Salt Lake City, Utah, that don't censor yourself. That's somebody else's job. And
Yeah.
your time is coming if you don't stop. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I
And
love
I was
that.
like, that's
I
dope.
love that.
That
Yeah.
inspired me up. And I said, can we get a picture? And we took the picture. I got on my IG, and Lena has been a big inspiration for me. I hope to work with her one day. But I wanted everybody to understand that. Stop censoring yourself, because we do that.
Listen, self-censorship is
Yeah,
such
because
a
we do that because we're
base.
trying to be more acceptable to a system that's
Exactly.
unacceptable to us.
And you know what? Yeah, exactly. So you talking specifically to black people, and I think that needs to be said specifically to
No,
black people.
I'm talking in general.
In
I'm
general,
talking in
that's what
general.
I want to get to, because I want to say,
Especially black people. It's
yes, yes,
especially
yes.
black people, but that's applicable to everybody.
See, when you're in a state where you think that, first off, when you think a lot of us don't think that we belong in the spaces that we do. I know you've had some of this like imposter syndrome feeling. You have to come into a place of confidence that what you create is it. What you say
Is
is
it?
it. You're capable and you deserve the ability to articulate what is inside of you. And that it doesn't have to be, again, validated and all that stuff. And so the self-censorship comes from a bit of a fear that you don't quite belong. You want to say the right thing, whatever that means, because you don't want to miss opportunities. But I was just having this conversation the other week with somebody. We were talking about some creative stuff and some cartoons I was trying to work on, and it was a similar thing. He was like, "Whoa, you wanna You sure you want to go into that on down that subject? You know, you might, you know, you're gonna offend the Democrats. You're gonna offend the Republicans. It's like if everyone's doing that, that's why nobody's saying anything. First off, nobody's saying anything, and then the people that are saying things, they're saying things specifically for that target group. They pick one of the, you know, they pick Democrats, and then they constantly hammer that because that's the cash cow. That's where it is now, and so they can't, you know what I mean? So they can't notice if Joe Biden has a slip up, and they just have to keep feeding this demographic that they think is the key to the thing. And that's where faith comes in, yo. It's like, don't self-censor. You don't know enough to self-censor. It's actually a conceit, you know? You think you're avoiding something, but you don't know. Go, you know? That's what I
I
got.
like that. I like that. I really like the notion of imposter syndrome. And when you say that, you know, you might offend the Democrats or whatever, are they concerned about offending Black people?
Right, exactly. Right.
You know, when are we gonna flip the script on that? You know, they're like, nah, they're not concerned about what we think. You
Not at
know,
all.
and so I can care less about what they think. You know, I've been whispering this, but because you're a dear friend of mine, I'm going to do an exclusive announcement on your program.
All right.
This is a worldwide exclusive. First time I'm saying it publicly. I've said it in private with some trusted friends, but this is my first time on record. But when Eleanor Holmes Norton relinquishes her throne, I'm going to run for Congress for her seat, but I'm going to run as the first openly revolutionary candidate.
Yo, I
So
love that, Kymone.
yeah, I'm gonna be on some Black Bernie shit, you know, and it's gonna
Congratulations,
look
man.
real. Yeah, it's gonna look real, and I look forward to my day in the sun because they're gonna come for me. So, everything I'm saying is gonna be challenging the status quo. I'm here to flip tables like the story of Jesus. You know, I said the story of Jesus.
Yeah,
I ain't no,
right.
I ain't,
Right.
I'm not one of those freaks. The story of Jesus. That's your
Understood.
story, you know. But yeah, so
Well, it need
we're gonna put to test everything you just said.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's funny how people love. First off, some people would be, oh, what the story? It's real. You know, they want to affiliate with this real story of what Jesus did. At the same time, they're not really interested in the flipping of the tables, though. You know what I'm saying?
No, they
Like,
don't like that part.
no,
They don't like that part.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah, they don't like the part of him hanging out with hookers either.
exactly. That too. Yeah, that too, man. This was
Yeah,
obviously a very interesting
yeah.
human.
And they seem to get real fuzzy between the birth of Jesus till about he's 30 years
He's
old. Like
30,
they don't
right?
know
Whole
what
bunch of
he was
stuff.
doing.
He was living his life, man. But
Yeah, I think he was living his life,
yo, honestly, as someone I
hanging out
live
with hookers.
exactly. A lot of my adult life was sort of as an atheist, man, and that's how I would call myself.
You're
But
an atheist?
I used to be, man, and where I am now is I was raised Christian. My father was in the Nation of Islam, so I actually went to sing like Farrakhan
Yeah,
speeches and
that's a
stuff.
funky combination.
But as an adult, I was like, yo, all this stuff is nonsense, and I became pretty hardcore atheist. But now I find myself having a kind of a spirituality, man, and you touch on some of this in the book too, and I wonder if you could share your spiritual. In fact, let me read this real quick because I had this book note and I like
I
this.
meet you halfway on your atheism. I'm agnostic,
You're agnostic, yeah,
so
but you do
I don't give
believe.
a shit.
Let me tell you, do you, when you mention God in this book, this is purely fictional, right? Like you don't. Because you have a quote here. Let me just read this story. Okay, man plans and God laughs. Life is so unpredictable, and unexpected changes will inevitably occur. This is from the book Nineveh. In spite of possible calamities, we are urged to think positively and maintain a spirit of optimism by not dwelling on the negative possibilities. We try as we may to minimize the possibilities of negative things happening to us or our loved ones. Putting on our seatbelts, wearing helmets, regularly monitoring what we put in our bodies, and of course, avoiding confronting danger head on at all costs. But deep down, we realize we can't always avoid disastrous acts of fate or that of Mother Nature. What does faith mean to you? Is that a
Oh
real thing?
man, that's one of my favorite passages, brother. So thank you for that. That's a good look. And I get a kick out when I hear people read my work because it's like, oh man, because see, I said this before. Being a writer, you're a little crazy because you have to sit in your space alone and try to listen to the voices in your head
Yep.
and record them accurately enough to convince other people that they can hear those voices too.
Right. Right.
That's some trippy shit, you
Yeah.
know. So thank you for hearing the voices in my head. Um,
Thanks for reading it.
Obviously, as an artist, I have to write beyond my belief system. You know, my morals are going to always be in my work, but I would like to put myself in other people's shoes, and I don't. I try not to disrespect people who have a faith because I know at the end of the day, their faith is their warm, fuzzy blanket. And since I don't have anything to replace that warm, fuzzy blanket with, who am I to take it away from them?
Right.
You know. Now I will bump heads with you when your warm, fuzzy blanket is trying to get tied around somebody else's throat behind your dogma. You
Right.
know.
Right.
But if you're just trying to keep your little warm, fuzzy blanket to yourself to sustain you, then I understand that. Back to Martin Luther King, he said in that what was that piece? That I think it's the speech he said about something at midnight when he got that death threat and he couldn't go back to sleep, and he
Right.
said he prayed over a cup of coffee out loud. He said he said I had to find I had to know God for myself. Religion had to become real to me because his faith was what sustained him through that part. Now, I do think he was full of shit when he says that he poured himself a cup of coffee, thinking coffee would give me some relief. Like, nigga, you wasn't drinking coffee at midnight. You know what I'm saying? That you had a drink. You know what I'm saying? You
Okay.
said,
Right. He had a
yeah,
stiff one.
you
Right.
yeah, you said coffee for the
For the
congregation. You know what
people.
I'm saying?
Right.
Because they
Right.
back there
Right.
going, mm-hmm,
Uh
and
huh.
oh yeah, they doing all that. Like, nigga, you had a drink at midnight. You wasn't drinking
Yeah,
no
man.
damn coffee trying to get to sleep. Like, come on, man.
You ever
You
wonder
know.
about that? About how much they had to kind of, apart from the actual personal stuff they had to do when they come out to be front facing, they had to present
Oh yeah. I
something.
mean, all of Martin Luther King's discretions made me love him more.
Right.
When I found out he smoked cigarettes, drank liquor, and liked women, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my
It's
dude,
a dude. Yeah, it's a human right here, right?
yeah, he's not Jesus.
Right.
Or maybe he was. Jesus hung around, hookers.
Yeah. I mean, look, honestly, the Jesus story is an interesting story. It's an interesting person. I don't believe that he was the son of God. I don't need that
Come on,
to
Slim.
sustain me.
God, and for you to believe that story, that means God is a rapist
That's
because
right. That's right.
he slept with a woman while she was incapacitated without her consent and impregnated her.
Yeah.
And she's supposed to have been married, but still a virgin at the same time. Like, how that's supposed to work?
Right.
Like,
To me,
even your story don't make no sense.
exactly. They
And
say
that's why I
what?
love fiction
Yeah.
because fiction, unlike reality, has to be believable.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Unlike
If I
reality.
told you that I had a virgin who was married, you would be like, "How's she gonna be married and be a virgin?"
Yeah, and have a child.
Yeah,
So one of my favorite writers, Christopher Hitchens, says, which is more close and more likely to be true, that the rules of nature were suspended so that a virgin could give birth to this child, or that a Jewish minx should tell a lie.
well,
that
there you
that
have it.
you know
There
she's
you
just
have
like,
it.
nobody touched me. I was this was God's baby. But
Yeah,
really,
like
look,
whatever.
what I want to get to, Kymone, because a lot of times we get caught up in words. So stuff like God or whatever. I want to know about, like, you have something like a faith. You have something that sustains you because you
My
constantly
ancestors.
your ancestors. You step into unknown stuff all the time. You challenge your understanding of what is and what isn't. You go into dark places and you come out and you create. And I try to do the same thing. And that to me is the faith that I need. It's not about religion or about like reciting a prayer or something, going to church every Sunday. It's about like challenging my understanding of what's unknown. You know what I'm saying? Go there. And then when you go there, it opens up for you and you see it's more complicated than you thought. And you just keep developing your understanding. And someone like you and someone like me, man, we write it down, we create, and then we try to share it with other people. Um
You know, I'm telling you a lot of things I haven't admitted um, publicly. I think one of superpowers is that I held the hand of a woman while she gave birth, saw her, belly, cut open, the inside, the baby pulled
C-section.
out. Yeah, I've seen a birth while holding her hand, right? I also have held the hand of a woman who we was aborting our baby, and I'm wiping tears from my eyes while the machine is sucking life out of her body. The juxtaposition of those experiences is the circumference of my emotional arc and my writing ability. Because if you haven't lived, your purview of life is limited. And writing, in its essence, is pain. It's painful to tell the truth. It's painful to look into the dark recesses of your mind and pull out the pressure points that make you. There's something I can say to a woman that would make her want to sleep with me. There's something I could say to a woman to make her want to throw a drink in my face. Now, what I say to this woman to make her want to sleep with me may be completely different to another woman. What I say to this woman that makes her want to sleep with me, if I said the same thing to this next woman, she might be the one to throw the drink in my face. You don't know what triggers people have and press points because their experiences determine that, you know? And I think as a writer, you have to get to know yourself and define yourself. And you have to spend quality time alone in order to find it, which is why it's a slippery slope for artists to give over to their inhibitions. That's why artists are susceptible to alcoholism or drug abuse and or whatever excesses they have, because they have trouble stopping.
They give,
You know,
they let go. There's a
they
letting
let go,
go.
you keep going, and it's hard to come back.
Right.
And so, fortunately for me, I've never gone so far that I couldn't come back.
Are you in a relationship, bro?
I hope so.
I hope so.
When I come, ask me that again when I come back from St. Martin. I'm going to St. Martin for the on the book festival, and so when I come back, I have a bona fide answer for that question.
Oh no, I don't even know what that means exactly, man. But
Hey man, guys, come on, man. I gave you a lot.
yo,
Yeah.
I appreciate this, man. I've held you for over an hour. Thank you for your
I
time.
enjoyed it. I hope it was good.
It was very good, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for the announcement. First time Kymone Freeman has publicly announced that he is running
For
for the
Congress.
DC Congress seat. Which, what do they call it? It's not a typical seat, right? It's a
It's still Congress. It's just a non-voting
non-voting
because
Congress.
because DC has taxation representation.
That's right.
So that's why I'm going to use it as a platform, and it's going to be lit.
It's gonna be lit,
It's going to
kid.
be real. It's going to be lit.
I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of so much that you've done. I'm proud of what you're yet to do, and I'm glad you're here. And I just appreciate creativity, and I like how you think, man. And I like how you continue to evolve your thinking. And I just think I wish there were more. I wish you were had the platforms that like a Don Lemon or some of these other people have. You know what I mean? Like the world would be
Yeah.
our country would be a different place altogether if we had the kinds of
Well, it ain't
grounded
over yet.
communities you have. It's not over. Exactly,
It
bro.
ain't over yet.
We getting there, man. We getting there.
You
So,
know? Look at those brothers in Tennessee, the two Justins.
yep,
You know, we didn't know who they were 6 months ago,
right.
and now the whole world knows who they are.
Yep,
So anything can happen at any given time, at any given moment.
that's right.
And what we need to understand is that our time is now.
Yeah,
You know, your time is still coming. My time is now.
yeah,
But your time is still coming. And so we're on deck, you
yeah.
know, and their time is past. You know, the status quo, that's why they're losing their mind trying to maintain the status quo.
Correct.
It's unsustainable. It ain't happening. But the
Correct.
problem is, and what we need to be concerned about, is that they'll be willing to destroy all of this before they share this world equitably.
That's correct.
You know, so we need to be. So let me leave you with this. I think the most powerful thing I could say is, again, you know, don't wait for validation. Free yourself from the imposter syndrome. Tell your story, no matter how painful it is. And at the end of the day, decrease your level of dependency on the system and increase your interdependency upon each other. And that will get us to a higher plane.
Love it.
And make your own rules. Make your own rules.
Yeah, man.
Don't be afraid to break the rules.
That comes with the other stuff we were talking about the imposter syndrome. You know, if you know that you think the room, you think you need to be in that room. No, you need to make your own room. You need to do whatever, man. Anyway, Kymone, thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Much love, bro. I'll talk to you later.
All right, respect. One love. Stay safe, stay strong, stay woke.
Will do, man. Yeah, that was Kymone. Glad we did that, guys. Thank you for another episode. I'm gonna wrap this up. I've got nothing else. And next week, I think I'm gonna get back to just kind of doing my own thing. So it'll be me next week. I have a topic in mind. I'm not 100% sure, but I will let you guys know. Thanks so much for watching. Later. Crazy to realize that is this incredible story, a journey that's unfolding for us, from us. The life experience isn't just out there, you know, it's also inside of us. It's our perception, our beliefs, our language, our traumas, our prior assumptions. Sometimes you need the benefit of time and some distance. You can look back and see, you know, everything happened just as it needed to for this moment. Listen, I've been grown, my step pops move just like the wind blows. I chin stroke and reminisce on days when life was simple. Me, always had a pen stroke, fresh like Mentos. At 9, I wrote complex lines and colored pencils. By 16, the game was mental. The stuff I've been through, I had to learn to break shit down and reassemble. The cops judge me by my skin tone. Me and my kinfolk, we been broke. These checks too slow, file the rent grow. Look, sidewalk chalk, I trace it in black. Shit strange how the brain can relapse to anger, in fact. But hey, everybody chasing a stack, sitting at the table telling fables with a plate full of scraps. You had the mic, now we taking it back. Mirror to the face, facing it flat. Can you face it or not? They stole your whole shit straight from the apps. Don't at me, I'm just stating the facts. And all these words I spit, I'm a wordsmith. Perfect verses, hurt way worse than curse words did. Get the hearses, how they gon' hang truth from purse strings? The nerve of these clowns and cursed earthlings. Check the grace they got for racists and bots. Content clowns chasing the guap. They daily research on the wire. Be copy and pasted a lot. Wait, my basic cable is basically ops. Breaking news. I try to count my blessings, though these people are vexing. Notice pain is a testing. Choose to press in, I'm etched in. Stuff of exploded stars caressing. Who got bars like Billy B. Blessing? Answer the question. But let me say less, I don't flaunt predator apex. I make moves, y'all stunt for placements. Life stage is amazing by God's graces. Not a thug, but definitely goon adjacent. I foul flagrant, chef it up with no apron. But y'all ego talk too much and not patient. Look, not for Nathan, stay true and stop faking. That's why the broads turned off and not naked. I'm complex, never complacent. My steps constant, accomplishments and roads taken. So I'ma live this one life my way. Big moves, my head might skyscrape. Migraine, I stack bread like sideways. They pay a lot to talk in sly ways. Now I keep the fam fed off rhyme play. Who the type to set it off in 9 ways? Billy, the most creative MC in this time space.
type to set it off in 9 ways? Billy, the most creative MC in this time space. Who the type to set it off in 9 ways? Billy, the most creative MC in this time space.